Hey, it's Greg. This is the Square Pizza Pod, cooked up by SchermCo.
All right. Well, now we are live.
Woo.
Hello, listening audience. My name's Jia Lin-Bothe. I am the Director of Family Empowerment at the SchermCo Foundation. And today I have two lovely ladies joining me at our Square Pizza podcast. So I will let Keiba and Arleen introduce themselves.
Good morning or afternoon, sorry, wherever you are. My name is Keiba Young, and I'm a parent of a middle schooler here in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, North Carolina.
And hello, everybody. My name is Arleen Vargas. I'm the Senior Director of Consulting and Training Team at Innovate Public Schools. And I'm joining you all from Seattle, Washington. So good morning and afternoon, too, depending on where you are.
Yeah, so we got West Coast and East Coast.
Okay.
All right. So today we're here to, if Keiba can share some insights and reflections from our first ever PLI East that took place last March. I can't believe it's been a year already. And something very exciting that's going to happen next week, April 11th to the 13th, we will have our Leadership Institute. It will be virtual. So that's why we're here today. So a little bit more background. SchermCo Foundation, we help schools with family engagement, family empowerment efforts. And through that work, I'm able to meet great people like Keiba, great people like Arleen, and we are able to do so much. And I'm like so grateful for everything that they do. Last year, we had the first ever in-person East Coast training for PLI, the Parent Leadership Institute. We had 48 participants from 14 institutes, 12 states, and 7 of our parents from the SchermCo work completed the training. And then last February, we had 6 other parents who completed this PLI, Parent Leadership Institute. And Parent Leadership Institute is actually being rebranded into Leadership Institute. So I'm going to pass on to Arleen to share more about this.
Yes, thanks, Gia. And I'm wearing the shirts that we gave out last year at our Parent Leadership Institute, as Gia mentioned, our first ever in-person event in the East Coast. And so we actually did rebrand to the Leadership Institute, so drop the P, because we thought that parent wasn't necessarily an inclusive term for all the folks that pour into a child's life, right? And we wanted to make sure that the Institute was inclusive to those folks as well. And it is really about capacity building, right? Pouring into parents, advocates, childcare providers to make sure that they have the tools that they need in order to be successful to continue to create the change, not only in their children's lives, but in the community that they serve. So we went ahead and rebranded as the Leadership Institute. We're still very centered around parents. They're still the forefront of the program and very much a part of the work that we're continuing to do.
Yeah, Arleen, tell us more about the Leadership Institute that's happening. This episode will be dropped on Monday at noon on Eastern time. So I guess later in the week for the listening audience, and for those who are live listening right now, it's next Thursday to Saturday. And how many people do we have joining us?
Well, as of yesterday, actually at 5 p.m., we had 84 participants. And so we're waiting to get those numbers live. So the folks that are watching us live, you actually get a special opportunity because registration is still open. It is open till tonight at midnight. So it closes at midnight on Saturday, April 6th. So you still have time to join. It is a bilingual event. So we will have training in Spanish and in English within language. And it's a special opportunity to really network with 84 parents, childcare providers, advocates across the nation to talk about how do we advance on their educational journeys, right? And Keiba, I know you were a part of that journey, right? Last year when we did it in person. And we also had the lovely pleasure of doing a mini Leadership Institute with SchermCo parents back in February. And now we get to bring folks back and talk about their own experiences, about how they've used the trainings to build teams, right? To build confidence, right? Because part of our trainings is not just about what are the tools of organizing that a parent or a child advocate might need, but it's also about really knowing that you have the power to change things. School board members work for you. Principals work for you as well, right? And so as this person that's advocating for their child, it's really important for folks to understand the power that they have, and then the immense power that we have collectively, right? That's been a very big part of the feedback that we've gotten many years. And our secret sauce, I believe, here at Innovate, that we do get parents across the nation together and they say, wow, you're dealing with the same things, right? You're dealing with the same things that you're dealing with in Charlotte and California, right? In Denver. And how are we all advancing together to create this change in our communities? So I'm really excited to see 84 plus. I'm trying to hit 100 today, Jia. I'm trying to hit 100.
All right. I will try to help you get
Bilingual
there.
parents. Thanks.
That's awesome. So again, the training is in Spanish. It's also available in English. It'll go on at the same time. So if you don't speak English, please, or if you only speak Spanish, parents are able to access the training. You don't have to be a parent to join this training. So, and how do people register for this training, Arleen?
Well, they register through a link. We can put it in the chat. It's on the Leadership Institute website on innovatepublicschools.org. And so you can access the registration from there until midnight, like I mentioned. And one of the things that I wanted to bring into the space is like how we do the trainings, right? I think it is really important to do in-language training, especially in communities like the community that I grew up in, right? I'm a child of immigrants, and I always had to translate and be that interpreter for my mom at a very young age. And so I'm happy to see that the world is changing a little bit, right? To have more spaces for her to speak her language and feel like she is a strong advocate for herself, not just me, as a child at the time. And so we want to bring that experience into our trainings to make sure that parents and advocates feel safe, right? To talk, to speak, to know that these services are actually available, and that the curriculum that we teach is not jargony, right? Like these are tools that I know community members are using. And so our job here is to activate that pathway of how are you using your tools to create that change, right? So just wanted to lift that up as a part of the way that we do our training. And maybe Keiba can talk a little bit about that. I know it's a virtual training, but man, we bring the energy. We bring the energy. You will definitely feel inspired. You will definitely feel moved and challenged, right? It's not just all comfort, but we have to get uncomfortable in order to be greater advocates in the community and organizers as well.
Yeah, we'd love to hear more from you, Keiba. How, it's been a year, but if you can think back to your Parent Leadership Institute experience, how was that like for you?
Just to piggyback off of Arleen, just insert Arleen's exuberance right here, because that was what drew me, is that they were excited for others to learn and to get involved. For me, it boosts my confidence and the know-how to get things done within my son's school. Prior to this training, I want to say it was a mini college course. Actually, it should be in all courses. Actually, for like long ago, it used to be a home ec class that should be part of home ec. and of course, there's
Like
no
this idea.
more home economics. However, I was activated by the information shared during the PLI experience to run for a position within a powerful political action committee here in Charlotte. And this committee, whose members consist of the Black elected officials, Black abolitionists, business owners, Black parents, and Black media personalities living here in Mecklenburg County. So I had direct access to the policymakers. Before, I was a standard member, helping with the treasury, the finance part, but never did I think I could run for a leadership position to actually affect change. But this training, meeting the other parents, it just accelerated my know-how or my energy to do more, especially when it was put in simple terms, easy to understand, easy to apply. Being able to apply the theoretic with the practical is always important for me, or for parents, period. Being able to show us visually and in writing how we can get things done. And it's a matter of just, it could be as simple as, hello, I would like to speak with you about what I see happening for my son and what he may need, to advance or have access to X, Y, and Z. And so that course, it wasn't a scary course. I wasn't hesitant once I got in the class and you walk in and it's, hello, glad you're here. I'm like, wait, they have too much energy on a Friday. But that's what we experienced. And it was throughout the course, people who actually care, who were able to demonstrate that they cared. It's one thing to say you care. It's another one to demonstrate it as well. So that's what I appreciated about the training, and the people that you did have on staff who were relatable. It was someone I probably went to school with. That girl next door. It's cool to have a PhD, but it's also cool to have a PhD in lived experiences. So yeah, I had a good time.
Keiba, I just want to, oh man, I'm like transported back into this time. I mean, that's like what keeps me in the work 15 years later, right? Mm-hmm. Is like really seeing parents, people, leaders in the community, like realize like, wait, I have that power to change things. That was me too, right? As an organizer, I didn't know that I had that power within me. I started to just be like, yes, like you can do it. You can do this. And I really felt like I was taking that back seat a lot. And so it did take me even a personal journey to realize like, oh, I need to take my own seat at the table in order to do this, right? And what you're talking about, Keiba, right, is that self-interest piece. It's radical. Right? It's radical to have a conversation with someone nowadays in this individualistic society. Not just like, hey, how you're doing, right? But like, hey, like this is how it's impacting me. What do you want? What's your legacy? What makes you angry? All of these things, like all of those questions are very radical. And so we do disrupt. That's why I said it's a little uncomfortable sometimes. It's like we do disrupt this like system, right, that we've lived in for years, right? That we don't necessarily hold a mirror to ourselves up a lot, right? And so it warms my heart, Keiba, that you're like, oh wait, what's going on? Because yeah, it should have that reaction, like, wait, this is different, right? This is something else. So I'm excited to shepherd 84 plus parents next week in the same journey, Keiba.
Yeah, it sounds like so, Keiba, it's parents like you, parents like Katora, parents like Serena that, keep me in this work that, hey, I need to find more parents to come to these trainings and they can do more because you guys are in a day-to-day. Like, I don't have kids. There are things that I don't know what's going on, but you as parents, you know exactly what's going on and you know well, we need to teach you how to advocate, but you can advocate for your students. And that's the meaning of all of this. And something else, Arleen, to your point, like I had to learn it's okay to be angry. It's normal to be angry because we're not okay with the current system, right? And that's why, like, we need to build this power collectively and make great changes.
Yeah, and well, I think that that's like the beauty of the work that I'm currently doing at Innovate, because we get to work with 20 plus states to do just that, right? To activate and organize alongside our partners, and specifically SchermCo. Want to give you all an amazing shout out that out of those 84 folks, like you all are bringing 20 plus. I keep seeing registrants. So I'm like, yes, SchermCo's killing it. And so that is the beauty of it, is the long-term impact that we get to see across the nation, because we're very clear, like we always say, it takes a village to raise a child. That's true nationally, right? We have to be working in partnership. We have to be building up communities together, right? And capacity build so that like all children win. And so that's like the really exciting piece. And I've told Gia this many times, like really having that special place in my heart with SchermCo in particular, because I get to work closely with the coaching piece of like seeing how parents are like having those light bulb moments and being like, challenging me too, right? It's not just a one-way street. I used to be a teacher, so Kiba, when you said like it's good to have a PhD in lived experience, yes, I've learned way more from the kids that I used to teach, my own parents, than I ever did from a book I read, right? And so that's also keeps me into the work, that it always feels like I'm learning something new and alongside, and I'm getting pushed by the folks that we organize with.
Yeah, and Kiba, you may not know this, but Arleen and I, we chat quite often. I'm always like, do you know Kiba's doing this great thing? Oh my gosh, you know what Kiba's doing? And I'm just like so amazed, and I'm so happy I get to share this, like all this stuff you've been doing. Kiba, maybe let me give you the floor to tell the audience of all the great things you've done this past year. Like, oh my gosh.
So currently, I am finishing my 2-year term as the third vice chair of the Black Political Caucus. My title changed at work from resource director to department director. I attend more community events to network with policymakers. I am a member of the Mecklenburg County Superintendent Parent Advisory Committee and the Superintendent Strategic Planning Think Tank. And then yesterday, Vice President Kamala Harris made a visit here in Charlotte, and I was there to hear about her actions that she's taking in response to climate change. So I'm in places where policy making is happening. I can step right across the aisle and speak with the House of Representatives for my community and the City Council for the at-large community, and being able to speak directly with the school superintendent, and being in the same space of my son's principal, who, when I was explaining my experience with PLI and how I learned to organize, and how I learned to learn information, getting data about what the parents really wanted, and just being contacted by someone within the school, which was SchermCo, to say, hey, we're here, we're planning this event, would you be interested? And not only would you be interested, what are your thoughts on it? That had never happened for me as a CMS parent. And being able to share that information in these think tanks, bring into the forefront, hey, SchermCo is an organization you should look at, because not only did they help organize our parent-teacher association kind of collaboration, however, what they also did was that demonstrative part, which was sending us resources that were community-based, free or deeply discounted information that parents like me could use, because you are a working parent. However, if there are opportunities where I didn't have to pay for tutoring because this organization offers tutoring, that would free up so much money for me to either save it or in my reserves or do something else with my son. So things like that, the little things, those little nuggets that I'm not certain if it was made up randomly or if it's part of their curriculum or guidelines. However, I've used that community resource letter to share to our 255 plus membership of the Black Political Caucus, and they all love it. They share and share and share it because there's information about scholarships, about summer camp, jobs, economic development opportunity, just a wealth of information that's happening here in Charlotte, where we do not have a one-stop shop place to receive resources because everyone and everything is doing something to improve our community. But having that in one place and me being able to share it with the policymakers so they can know that, oh, this is happening. Oh, I need to take interest, and being able to have that contact information readily available where parents don't have to do a deeper dive to get to the information. That one click, that right there, that did it for me. And I'll be forever grateful for PLI and SchermCo because it changed my life. Not that my life was as boring, but now I live a more active and productive life. And not only am I helping my son, I'm helping other kids by default. Because again, as an organizer, I can only organize for my self-interest and what's important for me. And I can maybe guide another parent, or perhaps they see the outcomes from what I'm doing and inspired through that. However, I know that what I want for my son, and it could be universal, and I just go on that and get things done. And it's been happening. I haven't had any problems. I've been getting phone calls from the school board asking it's a wonderful thing because normally it takes a while to penetrate the school system from the teacher to the front office, from the front office to the superintendent's office. Now I just have that direct access. Who does that within a year? Like it just happened, and I'm happy about it. And it's because of you all.
Keiba, you did that in a year.
A troublemaker or something.
Yeah. Keiba, you did that in a year. Less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really motivated by it. And I know I had commitments that I was supposed to do after I left the PLI training, and that was to have one-on-one conversations with the parents that I networked with. And I did have a few, but then I was able to leverage that to get in that committee where the policymakers were. And from that, I have access to them. Plus, whatever event we have, it's normally on the news, is in the newspaper. So again, more exposure to the issues, the challenges, and the highs of what's happening in the community. So I believe I'm in a happy and safe place right now. I need to disrupt a little bit more by this being that season, the election season. And I look forward to doing something. I don't know how I'm going to rumble it up, but it's coming. I haven't gotten that far yet.
I wish there was like reaction buttons on this too. I just wanted to put some hearts up, right? Because a year can change a lot. 6 months can change a lot. And so that's what you did, Keiba. You took a stand to disrupt.
I mean, It was the energy. I felt like I didn't have a choice because it was so much information, and I knew I'm like, I can do that. I can pick up a phone. I have a cell phone. I have a house phone. I have a work phone, and I have an email. Those free tools that I can use to get the message across, and it worked. Everything I did, it worked. I mean, everything worked. I got quick responses, and mainly the response was, I did not know. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. So it's not that the school does not want to help. It's that they were not in the know. You know, you don't know till you don't know. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, if I could revamp or even if I could enhance the PLI program, because you have so many different courses that a parent could take within those days that you have us, and we had to pick and choose. I would have rather taken all the courses that you offered. So if it meant extending it from the 2 days to 4 days, I was willing to do it. And actually that the subject matter, the history of education, oh my God, I love that. And I wish it was a longer session on that. But that was so helpful because you were able to see how far education has come. You were able to apply what happened in the past, present and then what could possibly happen in the future, which is the future is us, and we can make it how we want it to become, because we have that people power, we have those relationships. So I if I could do anything, I would all the courses. Everybody takes all the sessions, and I don't know. That's just me being greedy. But it's always good to learn new stuff and be full, not gluttony, but just full of information so that I can have those tools to communicate with those leaders or policymakers, so that we can affect change. So, yeah.
Listen, Kiba, I'm gonna tell you, we were talking internally, right, to some of our staff members and who have been here for 8+ years, right, with Innovate. And, we were talking about next week. And they were like, man, every time I go to Leadership Institute, I get something new. Like it might be similar curriculum, it might be like similar breakouts. We do, I judge it up here and there too, because based on our audience, obviously. Uh, and I think that's the beauty of training, right? Is every time you go through a power session, a one-to-one, self-interest, talking about house meetings, you do get to see something new. A history of education too, and so like thinking about Leadership Institute as this ground, not just to be in alignment with new leaders, but also for you all to like get even more of your cup filled, right? See things in different ways. So I'd be interested, Kiba and Gia, right? Like a year later, what difference would what different things would hit you in a Leadership Institute this year that maybe didn't last year, right? And next year and so forth. So it is like this ground for not just like new folks, but for folks who have been doing this for a long time as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. To me, this is election year, so there's definitely different energy in the room, right? Doing an election year versus not doing an election year. And also the parents who are in the room, they make it a different vibe. And you're able to organize with your peers.
Yeah. And speaking of the election year too, right? Like I know that in like the past couple of years folks have been more politically engaged, right? And I think that election years are even more critical on the local level, right? Because if we see the trends, right, everything that something locally happens and maybe the state adopts and then the federal government takes it over, right? Perfect example is like the Medical Care Act, right? So I think that there is this responsibility that we all have to talk to people, not necessarily about who you're voting for, but like, what do you care about, right? What issues do you care about, and start the dialogue there. So whether you're a C3 or a C4, election years or any political moment in the community is an opportunity to grow that base, to talk to people, to engage in meaningful conversations. Because I will I promise you, I've done some door knocking, and people are just shocked, like, oh wait, you don't want anything from me, you don't. I'm going to the poll, right? Like that's the first thing they say. I'm like, no, actually, no, I'm just here to talk to you. I'm just here to have this conversation. So disrupting the system to be like, oh, you want to talk to me about what I care about? Like, you sure you don't want anything from me? It's such a meaningful act. So I do like challenge all of us, election year or not, to like go door knocking with a buddy, right? Be safe about it. But talk to people, right? Like I feel like we don't know our neighbors anymore. I knew the people where I grew up in New Jersey, but like in Seattle, I'm like, hi neighbor, but who are we in this world? I think it's important to know.
I agree. I agree. We definitely can do better with voter turnout. Our voter turnout was dismal. So that is actually my next project, is to see how we can get more people to vote, whichever way they're going to vote. But uh, communicating more on a mass level, when to vote, how to vote, doing some public service announcements to let the community know that register to vote. And voting day is this day, early voting is that day. Sharing resources on how to get to the polls if they need rides, or I don't know, making phone calls. That's what I'm going to be working on soon because it is needed. We did poorly for the primary here in Charlotte, but I believe we can improve those numbers with the right communication, the right one-on-ones, knocking on doors. I wrote that down on my notes, knocking on doors. I'm going to do that. I'm shy in real life, but I'll try that, knocking on doors, and see how that works out for me.
I will try that too. I need to get to know my neighbors. Let's start there. I don't know what my neighbors' names are.
I don't either, and I feel so bad. I've been here for like 9 years, I think.
I mean, hey, it's a common thing, but like, yeah, step one, let's get to know our neighbors, but also, yeah, like why, right? My mom always says like she can't live like in like a secluded community because she's alone, and so she's like, hey, I want somebody to be watching out for me too, right? And create, like, again, coming back to that idea where we're supposed to be in community, like that's the natural form that we were born into. Yet in society, like, we've been taught to be individualistic, keep to ourselves, right? Somebody's in the elevator, get on your phone. Get on your phone, don't pay attention. But that one act, like, what happens if, like, you just say, hey, how you doing, have a good one, right? And get more inclined to take that leap. And Kiba, I'm also shy in real life, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I get it. I know you're like, are you sure about that? But no, but I think that I still have this approach of being curious, right? So that helps me through my shyness. It's like, I am actually curious about this person that's sitting next to me, because they have a complicated life just like me, right? And I want to get to know folks. So that's what helps me through my shyness. Uh, and then you're just naturally you, um, at the end of it. But yeah, like, being curious, I think is important.
All right, we're about to wrap up our podcast here. Arleen, do you have any questions for Keiba? Keiba, do you have anything? Because I know we're going to play some parts of this episode during the next Leadership Institute. So, Keiba, do you have anything to share with the 80 plus folks who are going to be watching you?
Absolutely. For the folks that's watching me, listen, you're going to have a great time. A lot of information is going to be shared. Network, network, network. Share your stories. There's someone in that group who needs to hear it. And if you don't want to share your story, you can call me and I'll listen. But have fun. Really have fun.
Kiba, I actually have a question for you too. Like, we talk about the first revolution is internal. Spoiler alert for those who are coming to the Leadership Institute next week. But we talk about that. But how did that resonate with you, like, during and after the institute? Like, what are some things that you feel like you had to wrestle with? Yeah.
Just my shyness I had to wrestle with. And also, if there will be whatever I did, how would that affect my son? And I wrestled with that. Like, how strong did I want to come in? How soft I wanted to be? And then I was like, what's the worst that can happen? My son not get educated? That's never going to happen. He's going to be educated, whether the public school does it or private school. So that's what I struggle with. What would happen with my son going into a school where there's a mom who's not happy with what the services that she's receiving, or even the communications that she's receiving, lack thereof. That was my own. That's the only thing I wrestled with. I'm not afraid about anything else, but my baby, and he being a child and can only do so much. I can only fight for him so much if I know about it. However, just how that would play out. And I'm glad I did take that into mind, because it did happen. There was some blowback with him. And me being able to identify what was going on, contacting the right people to explain what may have transpired. When I tell you that stuff went away just like that, I was like, okay, imagine if I was a scary parent and then just stop there as a scare tactic. But no, that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, that was one of the things people need to take under consideration. How is this going to look for their children? Would this change the landscape of their education? Who's going to be placed in their life? What teacher who's going to be aligning with, who may perceive themselves as my opposition? Whereas I feel like we're partners if we're wanting to educate children, or we're in the education field. And I know you care. I just need to know, how much do you care that my child succeeds? And wherever you lack, that's when I need to come in as a parent and make sure we close that gap. So that was my internal struggle. But now I'm okay. It's fine. It's small to a giant at this point.
Amen. I mean, I have a follow-up, if that's okay, for both of you, actually. Like, I know I talked a lot about, like, it takes a village to raise a child. Being in community is important, but how did you all see the importance of building teams with all of this? Because Keiba, you talked about how you were like, I can only do this much, right? Why, how did you all see that the impact of building teams play out, right, in the work that you now do a year later?
For me, it was more so that united front, the power of numbers, the power of influence that comes with the people who are beside you. Actually, I knew about that, but knowing about it and being about it and being intertwined with it is totally different. So me saying, hi, I'm Keiba, I'm a parent. Okay, that's one person. But now I say, hi, I'm Keiba. I'm with the X, Y, and Z organization who does X, Y, and Z, and we have 255 members. And I'm also with X, Y, and Z, and we have this amount of people who I have direct access to. This is our, cause, and it was more effective. It just made more sense. It just made more sense coming with the numbers, the following, and people tend to notice you when you have those numbers. A lot of policies are changed when you have 10,000 people versus 10 people at a city council meeting or a school board meeting. It affects change. So it was very important. Actually, that's the muscle of it. That the having the people. That's the muscle. That's like, okay, she means business, and she can convince these people not to vote for us or not to go this route. So that's a game changer. If you want something done, having those numbers. So that's how, I knew it was important to get a strong team. And even though I have this 255 people, those 255 people are attached to 245,000 residents here in Mecklenburg County. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, Keiba, you spoke a lot about just that power. That's great. For me, it's more about, yeah, I'm one person and I get tired. This work is tiring. This work is I love what I do, but it is tiring. At the end of the day, it's hard work, right? It's not hard work, it's hard work. Your heart has to be in it. And I just need that cheerleader. I could be the cheerleader. I need somebody else to be my cheerleader when I'm tired. And that's how we just keep going. That's what I see in building teams. I need somebody else to lean on when I'm not feeling my best today, or, and just having that person.
I hear both of you, right? Like just one, the power that comes with knowing that, like, for example, today, right? I'm not just Arleen, right? I am a part of an organization, Innovate Public Schools, of 30 plus employees that get to work with 20 plus states across the country. Like that is the power that I bring to the table, right? And Kiba, you talked about that too, right? It's not just about you; it's about the folks that you are representing together, right, across the table. Um, it does bring that organized people perspective, which is an important piece of power. So, like to build power, right? We need that. But Gia also is the point that you made is also important within those groups, right? How are we taking care of each other? How are we saying, actually, it's okay for you to step back right now? We got this because we are actually a team of 10 and 15, right? It's not just a team of one. So that sustainability piece is really important too. And that's like something that, they say organizers are trying to organize themselves out of a job, right? Because part of it is we have to make this work sustainable. It's long-term work. It is hard work to build relationships, to get uncomfortable, to push back, to really hold folks accountable. But the beauty of it is that it works, right? It works when folks are like faithful to the organizing cycle, to use their tools and what they've learned to win, right? And the win sometimes is like, man, this person who like would never public speak is now like leading our action, right? That's a big win. And as much as like, hey, we've passed this like $200 million budget, right, for tutoring. So like there's a range of wins, but we do have to celebrate all. And so that's why I wanted to take a moment to celebrate you both in the wins and the things that you all have done within a year and beyond, right? Like this just didn't start at the Leadership Institute, right? It started way beyond that. So just really appreciate being a part of this podcast today with two powerful women.
Three. We're all three very powerful women. All right, we are on the Square Pizza Pot, so I got a rapid fire question for each of you. What does Square Pizza remind you of?
Like a time capsule. You're reflecting on what happened and what's happening. That's what it reminds me of, that reflection where you can get to sit back and think about, okay, what really happened now that you're not in the class right now. You've had a chance to experience it and absorb it. I think of it as like a time capsule, a reactionary period of something that happened. And what did you do afterwards? Like COVID happened, and what happened afterwards? Or, the space shuttle went up, and then what happened afterwards? One of those piece, that 1 year piece. So that's what I look at it as. I'm not certain if that's the right answer, but that's what I see it as, a time capsule reaction.
I love that.
Oh, I love that.
I think that we should just stop there because my answer is very much based on the fact that I'm hungry. So my answer was, it reminds me of Detroit style pizza. Because Detroit style pizza is kind of a square, it's deep dished. And so that's also what it reminds me of. But it's been a reflective space. Square Pizza podcast has definitely reminded me of a reflective space, how it's important to step back and evaluate. But yes, I am also now thinking about Detroit style pizza.
And me too, now that you've introduced it. I never heard of Detroit style pizza.
Chicago. Yeah, I'm about to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone now go get we should be sponsored by Detroit style pizza.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to give my little reaction to your time capsule moment last year this time. I appreciate it. I'm a big fan, by the way. I'm a big fan of both of you. I talk about you a lot, like as if you're my own family. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good to talk about good stuff. And it's given, or I received it from good people. So it just works for me. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm also eternally grateful for both Jia and Keiba. Keiba said it the best. We're constantly talking about you all. And not just talking, in relationship, right? I think that's like also true, Keiba, like that feeling of family, because we've been through an experience together, right? And we're committed together. So just really grateful to be a part of this experience with both of you as well.
Yeah, thank you both. I'm so excited for the 80+ folks who are about to do the Leadership Institute training, because oh my gosh, I'm just excited, and I can't wait to see what they are going to bring. And a year from now, like, where are we going to be? And also a year from now, Keiba, where are you going to be? And all the impact you're going to have.
You never know, I'm feeling presidential now. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, we never know. You never know. Who would have thought? So yeah, I think I'm in a good space to affect change. I believe I'm in the perfect place to affect change, and I'm activated. And always, if I see an opportunity to speak up or to bring someone in, I do leverage what I learned at PLI, and I share information from Gia's newsletter as talking points. People think I'm so cool and so knowledgeable and so resourceful. And I don't change that. I don't disagree with them, but it's because of Gia,
Well, I am going to leave it there on a great note.
Thanks so much for checking out Square Pizza Pod, making a few selfish requests. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps spread the word about the podcast, and share this with a friend. We appreciate it. Thanks.